Let's begin not with a grand gesture, but with a quiet invitation to presence and peace. This is not about a dramatic transformation, but a gentle shift, a conscious choice to move from running on autopilot to arriving fully right where you are. Right now, simply pause for a moment. Notice how your body feels without any immediate need to change it. Is there a familiar tension in your shoulders? A tightness held in your jaw? Perhaps your hands are relaxed in your lap, or maybe they're gripping something you didn't even realize. True presence isn't about fixing discomfort instantly. It is about making room to recognize what is already here, so you are no longer negotiating with it in the background of your mind. To understand why this simple act can feel so calming, it helps to know a little about what's happening beneath the surface. When you are stressed, your nervous system often shifts toward a state of fight or flight. Your heart rate may climb, your breathing can become shallow, and your muscles remain braced for action. The simple act of mindful attention, especially paying attention to your breath and the sensations in your body, can help downshift that stress response. In other words, the act of observing calmly can signal safety to your entire being. So let us try this together. Take one slow, deliberate breath in through your nose, if that is comfortable for you. Notice the air as it moves, the coolness, the expansion. Now exhale longer than the inhale, just slightly, without any force. As you exhale, feel the possibility of softening, of letting go. If a thought arises like, "I'm not good at meditating," that is perfectly okay. You do not need to be good at this. You only need to return again and again to the simple act of noticing. Here is a practical way to make this invitation more tangible. Choose one anchor. An anchor is something steady and immediate that your attention can rest upon. Your breath is a classic anchor, but it can also be the solid sensation of your feet on the floor, the subtle rhythm of sound in the room, or even the feeling of air touching your skin as you breathe. Let's try this for just 10 breaths. On the first few breaths, notice where you feel the breath most clearly. Is it the rise and fall of your chest, the expansion of your belly, or the movement in your throat? On the next few breaths, you might broaden your awareness just a little to include the space around you. Feel the chair or the floor that is supporting you. If you are sitting, notice the angle of your torso, the points of contact where your body meets the seat. If you are standing, notice the distribution of your weight, across your heels, the balls of your feet, and the quiet steadiness in your legs. Now, allow your attention to move in a small, gentle pattern, like a soft spotlight. Start with your forehead. If it feels neutral, that is fine. If it feels tense, simply observe the tension without judgment. Then, move to your eyes and cheeks. Let your gaze be gentle, even if your eyes are open. Next, notice your jaw and your tongue. A quiet clue to tension is a clenched jaw. Often the tongue rests lightly in the mouth when we are not bracing ourselves. The shoulders come next. Invite them to drop by a single millimeter, as if you are finally unclenching your grip after hours of carrying something heavy. You do not have to relax in a dramatic way. Think of it more like lowering the volume, like turning down a radio station that has been playing too loudly in the background. If your mind wanders, and it will, that is simply an opportunity to practice returning, gently guiding your attention back to your breath, back to your body, back to this present moment. From this grounded space, we can now turn toward a prayer for healing, for the body, the mind, and the spirit. These three parts of a whole person are deeply intertwined. When one is hurting, it rarely stays neatly in one category. Physical pain can drain our hope. Anxious worry can tighten the chest, and profound grief can make the heart feel physically heavy. A prayer for holistic healing is not just a request for something to change. It is a way to speak to God with clarity, honesty, and trust, even when you do not have all the answers. So let us begin by centering ourselves once more. Take a slow breath in and a long breath out. Notice your shoulders again. Allow them to soften if you can. This small physical act matters because anxiety directly influences the body's stress response. A prayer is not a replacement for medical care, for counseling, or for therapy, but it can be a powerful support for your coping and comfort. Many studies on prayer and spiritual practices find they are associated with a greater sense of hope, meaning, and reduced stress, especially when prayer is consistent and born of a genuine heart. Now let us pray for the healing of the body. Speak to God about what you are experiencing without minimizing it. You might say something like, "God, I bring you my pain, my weakness, my fatigue, and my discomfort. Please strengthen my body. Grant wisdom to the doctors and caregivers who guide my treatment. Help their remedies to be effective. If complete healing is your will, I ask for that restoration, one day at a time, one step at a time." If you are in the middle of ongoing symptoms, this prayer can also include a request for patience. Even as I wait, let my body gain strength, and let my rest be true, restorative rest. It is okay to include practical details, like upcoming appointments or a long recovery time. For example, one might pray, "As I go to physical therapy this week, help me to do the exercises safely and to feel even the smallest sign of progress." This approach beautifully blends faith with action. Next, we pray for the healing of the mind, especially when thoughts feel loud, repetitive, or hopeless. The mind can so easily spiral. What if it never gets better? What if I am a burden to others? What if I am doing something wrong? In your prayer, you can address those thoughts directly. For instance, "God, calm my anxious mind. Replace my fear with a quiet trust. Help me to think clearly and to see beyond this moment. When worry shows up, remind me that I am not alone in this. Grant me a peace that I can feel in my daily life, a peace that anchors me." This kind of prayer can work like an emotional reset, helping you to name the struggle and ask for guidance, rather than remaining trapped in a loop of fear. You can also pray for mental healing related to memory, focus, sleep, and emotional balance. If you are exhausted, you can say, "God, please grant me restorative sleep. Help my thoughts to slow down at night so that my body and mind can find renewal." If you are grieving, you might pray, "God, hold me when the memories hurt. In my sorrow, help me find a place where I can breathe again." These prayers validate real experiences while gently inviting hope to enter. Finally, we pray for the healing of the spirit, the part of you that longs for meaning, for forgiveness, for direction, and for closeness with God. Spiritual healing often looks like reconnecting to your purpose, or finding the strength to forgive yourself or someone else. It might be a prayer for clarity when the future feels uncertain, or a simple plea for the feeling of divine presence when you feel isolated. A prayer for the spirit might sound like this: "God, restore my soul. Where I feel disconnected, bring me back to you. Where I feel lost, show me the next step. Renew my hope, strengthen my faith, and remind me of who I am in your eyes." Sometimes you ask a question, pray for an answer, or take a step forward in faith. And then you are met with silence. No clear yes, and no definitive "not yet." Just a quiet, uncertain space. If you have ever felt that strange mixture of frustration and doubt, you are not alone. Delayed answers do not always mean denied hope, but they can tempt you to treat the waiting itself as evidence that you are stuck, forgotten, or on the wrong track. So let us explore what it looks like to keep asking for hope when answers feel delayed. First, it is helpful to reframe what a delay truly is. In many situations, a delay is not a denial. It is a matter of timing. A job application might take longer because of scheduling conflicts or additional reviews. A physical healing timeline can slow down because the body needs to recover in its own stages. Even in relationships, meaningful change often takes more time than we would like, because people need space to process, not pressure to perform. A delay can be an integral part of the process, rather than a sign of a negative outcome. But here is the challenge. When answers are delayed, the mind often rushes to fill in the gaps with worst-case stories. Your thoughts might sound like this: if they truly cared, they would have responded by now. If God wanted this for me, it would have already happened. Maybe I did something wrong to deserve this. These are painful assumptions, and if left unchecked, they can become the loudest voice in the room. Hope requires a different script. Hope does not mean pretending that everything is fine. It means choosing a more honest and expansive storyline, one that allows for the possibility that the right answer is still in motion, even if it is not yet visible. A helpful practice is to separate the question from the conclusion. Your question might be, when will this situation change? But the conclusion you choose to live by can be, I do not know the timing, but I am still allowed to hope, to ask, and to act in faith. That small distinction matters immensely. Conclusions can trap you. Questions keep you open. You might try this simple request, spoken aloud. God, I do not have the answer I want yet, but I am asking for a hope that does not collapse in the waiting. Help me to keep taking the next right step, even in uncertainty. This is important because hope is not just a passive feeling. It is an active choice to invite support and keep moving. Next, give your hope something practical to do. People often mistake hope for passive wishing, like waiting harder. But real hope is active and specific. If you are waiting on a response, do not just sit in dread. Create a gentle structure for yourself. Follow up once within an appropriate time window. Gather any additional materials you might need, or explore other opportunities while you wait. Waiting does not have to mean freezing your life. If you are waiting on healing, active hope can look like consistency, attending your appointments, following your recovery plan, nourishing your body with good food, and pacing your activity instead of pushing yourself into burnout. Hope is showing up for the process, whatever that process may be. Restoration after harm rarely happens in one dramatic moment. It is built piece by piece through a deliberate process. Forgiveness, release, and rebuilding. And to be clear, forgiveness does not mean you condone what happened or minimize its impact. In many cases, it does not even mean the relationship returns to how it was before. What forgiveness does is shift you from being stuck inside the injury to being able to move forward with your life. Let's start with forgiveness. Psychologists often describe forgiveness as a conscious decision to reduce resentment and move away from the desire for revenge, while still fully acknowledging what occurred. That distinction is vital. You can recognize all the facts, what was said, what was done, what it cost you, without letting that memory run your nervous system every single day. Forgiveness is also different from reconciliation. Reconciliation requires mutual trust, time, and changed behavior from all parties. Forgiveness, however, can happen internally, as a gift you give yourself, even when the other person is not ready or has not taken responsibility. Why does this matter so much for restoration? Because holding on to resentment tends to keep the body in a kind of chronic threat mode. People commonly report elevated stress, rumination, and sleep problems when they replay an injury over and over. When you practice forgiveness, you are not erasing the event. You are decreasing the emotional grip it has on you. Think of it like unclenching a fist you did not even realize you were holding. The memory of the hurt may still be present, but your whole life does not have to remain clenched around it. Here is a practical way to begin. Try a truth and choice statement. For example, "This happened. It caused me harm, and I am choosing not to let it keep controlling my thoughts and my future." You might not feel ready at first, and that is normal. Forgiveness is a process, not a switch. Some people start with, "I am willing to work toward forgiveness," and that in itself is tremendous progress. Next comes the act of release. Release is what happens after forgiveness starts to take root. Release means letting go of the need to make the other person pay, emotionally, mentally, or through constant arguments. It is choosing to stop replaying the painful conversation in your head, reheating the anger until it becomes exhausting. For example, imagine someone betrayed your trust at work. Even after you have decided to forgive them internally, you might keep reliving their motives. "They did this on purpose. They wanted me to fail." Release would look like interrupting that pattern. Instead of revisiting the story, you redirect your attention toward what you can do next. Documenting what happened, setting clear boundaries, or seeking support from a trusted colleague. Release also includes the courageous act of setting boundaries. Releasing bitterness does not mean you step back into a dangerous or toxic situation. Boundaries are a form of protection and self-respect. They answer the question, "What will I do going forward to keep myself safe and honor my own well-being?" For instance, if someone repeatedly breaks their promises, a new boundary might include requiring commitments in writing, limiting your time with them, or pausing a deeper level of intimacy until trust can be rebuilt. Life has a way of delivering unexpected detours. One week, you are planning for the future. The next, you are trying to figure out how to handle something painful, confusing, or deeply unfair. A trial can be anything that tests your limits. A loss, an illness, financial pressure, a conflict, a bitter disappointment, or simply the slow, grinding stress of carrying immense responsibilities without relief. And when trials hit, we do not just struggle with the situation itself. We struggle with the fear, the discouragement, and the overwhelming question, "How am I supposed to keep going?" Faithful courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to trust in God's presence and goodness, even while fear is still knocking at the door. Courage means you keep walking, one step at a time, without pretending that everything is fine. You acknowledge the weight of the burden, you admit that you need help, and you still move forward with the conviction that you are not abandoned in the storm. Let's make this practical. Imagine you have just received a difficult diagnosis. Your mind races ahead. What happens next? Will this get worse? Can I afford the treatment? In that moment, faithful courage looks like refusing to let your thoughts become a courtroom where you are convicted by worst-case scenarios. Instead, you choose grounded actions. You gather accurate information, you lean on trusted support, and you pray with raw honesty, no polished sentences required. You might simply say, God, I am scared, but I know I am not alone. Give me wisdom for just the next decision. That kind of prayer is courage in action. Here's another example. A relationship fractures. It is not a dramatic breakup, but the slow, painful erosion of trust. Conversations become tense. Silence becomes heavy. You feel responsible for everything and powerless over the outcome. A trial like that tests your emotions daily. Faithful courage does not mean you ignore your boundaries or avoid necessary conversations. It means you do what is right with integrity, while trusting God to handle what you cannot control. You can speak the truth without cruelty. You can pursue peace without erasing yourself. And you can remain steady even when the other person is difficult. Courage is staying aligned with your values when your feelings are pulling you toward revenge or withdrawal. It is important to understand how courage works internally. Trials often create two kinds of pressure: emotional pressure, where your body reacts with stress, sleeplessness, and tension, and mental pressure, where your mind spirals with overthinking and fear of the future. Faithful courage addresses both. On the emotional side, there are habits that can calm the nervous system enough for you to think clearly. Breathing slowly during prayer, getting light exercise, or speaking kindly to yourself instead of using shame as a motivator. On the mental side, courage includes choosing what you feed your mind. This is not about mindless optimism. It is about renewing your thinking with truth, with promises of strength and presence that anchor you when circumstances feel chaotic. And now, let us slow down for a moment and hold three final themes together: thanksgiving, trust, and a closing blessing of renewed life. Thanksgiving is not just a polite tradition, it is a powerful practice that shapes how we notice the world. When you pause to name what is good, someone's steady kindness, a moment of beauty in nature, the strength that got you through a hard day, you are actively training your attention. Psychologists often describe this as attention to positive experiences, and research on gratitude consistently links it with better well-being, stronger relationships, and more resilience during times of stress. So when we say thank you, we are not pretending that everything is easy. We are choosing to recognize the real gifts that exist, even in the middle of our challenges. Now, consider trust. Trust grows where gratitude and reality meet. Trust does not mean you ignore uncertainty. It means you decide not to be ruled by fear. A helpful way to think about trust is this: it is the quiet confidence that life can carry you. Through change, through waiting, through unanswered questions, without requiring everything to be fully resolved right now. It is the belief that you can handle what comes next, with help. As we look around us, Thanksgiving invites us to stretch our perspective. Instead of only focusing on what went wrong or what is still missing, we can choose to widen the lens. Maybe you are grateful for a relationship that healed, slowly but surely. Maybe you are grateful for a home that kept you safe. Maybe you are grateful for small, quiet victories, a difficult conversation you were brave enough to have, a project you finally completed, a moment of genuine peace. And sometimes, gratitude looks like honesty. You might say, I am grateful for the strength to keep going, even when I am tired. That, too, is gratitude. It is a gratitude that acknowledges the truth of your struggle without surrendering your hope. Here is a grounding practice you can try right now. Take one deep breath, and then think of three things. First, one person. Someone who has supported you, encouraged you, or simply shown up for you consistently. Second, One place or routine that steadies you: your morning walk, a quiet corner in your home, a familiar song. And third, one yet moment, a future you believe is possible, even if it is not visible yet. When you name these, trust becomes more than an idea. It becomes a lived experience. And now, a closing blessing, one that carries the spirit of thanksgiving into tomorrow and renews your sense of life. May your heart remember the good you have already been given, even as you wait for more. May your mind be steadied by trust. Trust that you are not alone, and that you have the strength to take the next right step. May this season and this ordinary day, made holy by your attention, renew your spirit with fresh energy and gentle courage. May your relationships grow warmer, your burdens grow lighter, and your hope grow sturdier. If you are beginning again, may you feel the strength to do so. If you are carrying grief, may you find room to breathe through it. And if you are simply living day by day, may you sense deep within you that life is still moving towards something good.